there's some Revelator songs that I'm like, man, we got to bring those back. But we've done so many songs and albums. There's like so much to choose from that I guess we don't think about it all the time.
We need to get you a really good slide player in Nashville, and you guys need to cover a Derek Trucks song.
You know, he told me Susan wrote the song, which he was proud of. He said that with great pride, you know, the way you say nice things about your family.
From the first note with Tedeschi Trucks, they just blow you away.
Yes, we will. I wouldn't argue with anyone that says that could be my favorite song on I Am the Moon.
He, signs my ticket, and I look over at Susan. I say, Susan, would you sign it too? And she goes, oh, heck yeah.
Kevin calls me and was like, hey, man, what are you doing? I was like, nothing. He was like, Derek wants to record some tuba stuff. I said, when do you want to do it? And he was like, let's do it Wednesday.
It was Midnight Harlem. And it caught our attention, man. And we started diving deep, and we're like, okay, we got to see these guys.
What's up? Welcome to the unofficial Tedeschi Trucks podcast. This is episode number 155, and I am Adam Choi. Please let me know if you can't hear me in the chat. I've been fiddling with my microphone a little bit, but to follow the show, it's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram and on YouTube. Just search Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. If you're watching, you're already there, so please be sure to subscribe, give the show likes, shares, comments. All that engagement stuff is definitely appreciated. I'm at Adam Choi on Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me, and please give a positive review to the show on Apple Podcast. I will be putting out an audio version of this episode as well. I'll try to get that out later tonight or tomorrow for sure. Aloha and can hear you. Thank you. That's good. Wasabi Ginger in the chat. TedeschiTrucksPodcast.com for everything related to the show. AdamChoik.com for all my personal stuff. I want to get into this one. TTB was at the Greek Theater in Berkeley last night, June 1st, and the night before that, May 31st, playing a couple of shows with Little Feat, and both of them were live streaming on Nugs with live access for Swamp Family Fan Club members. You definitely want to join that if you are not already a part of that. The shows are awesome. The streams are awesome. And I've been telling people about this is that I've been to more live TTB shows than I've watched live performances, streaming or otherwise, of TTB. So it's kind of a unique experience for me to actually watch a Tedeschi Trucks Band show live on a screen versus, being there. Because, I've been in the front, lucky to be in the first few rows a handful of times over the years. But to watch a show live and to be able to see all these close-ups, and I think we're going to get into this, but I think the direction and whatever Nugs is doing, like even they're stepping up their game. I feel like it seems like they know the music more and they know the songs, anticipating when certain parts are happening for certain musicians. But we'll get into all that stuff, I'm sure. I have a guest who I've been trying to get on for a minute here, Paige Elder, who's a world traveler, so to speak, as a flight attendant who's been over the world. I think she was in Australia. We may even talk a little bit about that. She's all over the place seeing TTB. And she was at the Berkeley shows. I'm not even sure where she is right now or where her home is, but let's bring her in. What's up?
Hi.
Oh, there she is. Nice to finally meet and connect and all that. And where are you? And how are you?
Me too. I'm at home in Lake Tahoe. I drove home last night after the Greek shows. I got home at like 3 a.m.
Nice.
Slept
And you
till noon. So I'm just trying to caffeinate and catch up.
I appreciate you being a trooper and joining me. Yeah, I tried to reach out to some guests, and maybe I'll even open it up if anyone else watching wants to join us who watched the stream and wants to give their thoughts about it. I thought it was amazing, but let's get into a little bit, at least, of your backstory and how did you discover Derek and Susan and all this music, and tell me a little bit about your musical journey.
So I was listening to your podcast last night driving home, and so it kind of just put me down the rabbit hole a little bit of my experience, and was thinking about where it all started. And I'm an old deadhead. So, I've been going to see music for a long time, and the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead, they're brothers in arms for a really long time. I saw Allman Brothers bands back in the day, in the 90s, when it was like Warren and Dickie, and then Warren and Jimmy and Derek. And I was fortunate enough to see the brothers at Jones Beach back in New York in 2001. and met Derek. He was like 19 or 20 years old, young Derek. And just, was like, wow, this guy's super talented. And then that same summer, Susan did a free day show at the New York Central Park stage that they have there in the park. And, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go check it out. This is totally right up my alley. And like a lot of people, that initial experience with Susan just like brought me to tears, such an emotional experience. Her voice is just so powerful, and her choice of songs are always just so touching, so emotional. So, I was a big fan right from the start. And then when I found out the two of them got together, I was like, what a great fit, and so I was in right from the start. Just, yep, please sign me up. Yes.
Very cool. Do you sing or play any instruments? Are you musical at all? Sing, dance?
I played a little bit in school. I played strings when I was a kid, and then I just recently bought a drum kit and have started taking drum lessons. So I'm about, 4 months into that. It's probably the most challenging instrument to pick up as a traveler like I am, because it sits at home and I'm on the road. So I don't know I don't know what kind of legs that's going to have for me.
Is there anything you could do with this? Is a dumb question, maybe. Is there anything you could do with the sticks and just bringing the sticks with you and hitting the pillows or something?
They're in my bag. I break them out every once in a while and tap on stuff around the hotel rooms. And yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's so cool that like that you're never too old. It's never too late to start learning and start something new. I know a handful of people who've gotten into guitar late. My dad kind of rediscovered it in his retirement, and I was talking to my sister the other day. I'm like, I want to play piano. I'm like, maybe in retirement, the guitar just for now, but piano is certainly in the back of like my mind is jumping into at some point.
I'm fortunate. There's a local music school that offers introductory classes, so I went and took like 3 different instrument introductory classes and just sort of really enjoyed the drums. And so I was like, I'm all in. I went and bought a drum kit and set it up in the spare bedroom, and to the chagrin of my dog and my neighbors, I'm in there pounding away on them.
Did you see Susan playing drums at recently, that video, or did you catch that? She popped on drums for So Long Savior. Well, I think for the first time, someone will correct me if it's not the first time.
Was that in Seattle?
Yes. Okay. I think it must have been one of the last 2.
I was not at the Seattle shows. I went to 2 Byrons, 1 Sydney, 2 Portlands, 2 Greeks.
And you're able to do this in some, partly because you work for the airline and the flight attendants, and you kind of book your travel a little bit, your work based around TTB.
Part of our benefits are that we get to travel on airplanes. So I flew into Brisbane, rented a car, drove down to Byron, did 2 nights in Byron. And then I wanted to go to Melbourne, but they played at the Palais Theatre, which is this really small historic theater that is like the size of a high school gymnasium. And it just kept saying sold out, sold out, sold out. So I kind of regret I didn't go for it. But I didn't go down there because I didn't have a ticket and I didn't want to get locked out. So I came back to the States, and then I ended up picking up a trip for work that went to Sydney, and I was in Sydney on a layover for night 1 of the Sydney shows.
I just can't help but think of when we first started messaging and I didn't know what your profession was. And you're like, hey, I'm in Seattle. Hey, I'm in here. I'm like, what? I'm like, we talked yesterday. Now you're in Australia. What's happening right now? I'm guessing you've seen Tedeschi Trucks Band. I was gonna say I was gonna ask how many times you've seen TTB, and I'm guessing the Allman Brothers a handful of times too.
I was trying to think about that last night. I'm thinking that I've seen TTB maybe like 30-ish times.
West Coast is a little tougher.
West Coast is tough. The first time I saw them was at Lock-In. I was there for the year that they did the Joe Cocker set.
Right.
They played the first night. I think they played 2 nights to my memory. The first night was TTB with special guests. I think Trey came out and Bob Weir came out, and Doyle Brumhall sat in. And then the second night was the Joe Cocker redo.
The Mad Dogs reunion, right?
The Mad Dog reunion. Yeah.
The movie finally, well, I don't know if it's not for a totally wide release, but a wider release. I don't know if you saw on Delta Airlines. I think they're showing it on their, as part of their entertainment now.
They're showing the TTB version?
The Learning to Live Together, the documentary. Did you see the documentary?
No.
You never saw it?
No.
But you heard about it?
No.
No, you didn't even hear about this?
No.
Because, well, it was only out for a very short while, so I guess it is possible to miss it. But,
Okay.
But Jesse Lauder, if I'm saying his name correctly, directed a documentary, and then they were working on it for years and years. And I know there's been trying to figure out platforms and licensing, and this is from what I guess I've kind of heard through the grapevine. But now it is at least being shown a little bit wider release as part of the Delta Airlines.
Nice.
People are like, I want to take Delta now just to see the movie. It was screened. I'm pretty sure there was a Northern California screening, but yeah, it was only for a very short release.
Is that the same guy that did the Fox Theater stuff?
I'm not totally sure. I off the top of my head.
Yeah. Another great TV.
Yeah, all the content. I mean, I felt like I watched a movie. There was a narrative last night. I guess we should get into it. Tell me about start from getting to the venue to your drive there, the weather, what you saw, what you ate, set the whole. I'll let you tell the story and I'll jump in. Here
So
and
the
there.
Greek Theater in Berkeley is just like such a magical place for anybody that's never been there. It was built in 1903. It's it was built by the Hearst family, and it's just like this like Roman Greco pillars, and it's all concrete, and it's got the bowl, which is all concrete, and then along the back of the bowl there's throne seats, and then a walkway, and then there's amphitheater. Yep, there you go, amphitheater seating. So the first night I had bought row 2 pit right, but everybody was like seated and I didn't want to block anybody. So I had a friend who was on this very first, they call it in the bowl. It was on the right-hand side, number 1. And we kind of were just like dancing right there at that corner. It was really great. Lots
around here.
Yep. I don't know. Yep. Your mouth's right where that guy's standing, like basically just kind of like to his right, Looker's left, they consider this pit right, pit left. So we were right down in the thick of it, just like lots of facial expressions, lots of eye contact, like lots of close-ups on everything, all the magic that was going on. They definitely, so they came out, Wavy Gravy came out after Little Feat, which, everybody just erupted when they saw Wavy. And he came out and, just opened the festivities as he did at the Oakland Fox Theater when they did that DVD residency in 17 or 16. They got a long history with Wavy there. And then, they went right into it. It was great.
Yeah, I saw they showed, of course, Little Feat on the live stream and Wavy Gravy, a.k.a. Hugh Nanton Romney Jr., an American entertainer and peace activist, best known for his role at Woodstock, as well as for his hippie persona and countercultural beliefs.
Yes.
Wikipedia.
Yes. Hog Farm, Merry Pranksters, all the OG hippie culture.
You're a big music fan. I could tell. You have the knowledge.
I was born in the Haight-Ashbury. I was kind of born into it. So
interesting.
My parents took me to see shows in Golden Gate Park when I was a toddler. So.
Which shows do you remember?
Nearest I can figure from just like historical records and the time that we lived there and in that proximity, I think we saw the Grateful Dead and the Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah. So this weekend, I'm sure, was super special to you.
They're all special.
I believe it, of course.
Yeah.
There's the poster. Very cool.
The poster is just so beautiful. And it's, it's kind of like mirrored and facing each other, one for each night. Super beautiful. I kind of am regretting that I didn't buy 2, but I don't have a lot of wall space. So.
Are you into memorabilia and or
Yes. So
all that stuff?
yeah, my dad worked for the lithograph company that did the Bill Graham Present posters in the 60s and 70s. So I've been fortunate enough to inherit a handful of original art and lithograph posters from the original Bill Graham Presents. I've got one from the Doors and Cream and Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead, and they're framed in the other room. Yeah.
I love it.
I've collected a bunch of stuff over the years. I've got a bunch of like signed Panic and Government Mule and stuff that I need to frame and put up.
Madeline Stefanak, if I'm saying that correctly, is the artist. She's done a handful over the years for sure for TTB. I definitely know that name and follow her and all that. These are super cool, and all the pictures that I'm sharing will be courtesy of or from TTB.
Yeah.
Does the band know who you are? Do you have a friendship, acquaintanceship with the band? Do they recognize you when they see you in the front? They're like, there she is again, traveling all over the place to see us.
I
Do you think
there might be some recognition? I've met them a couple times. I don't know that I've made any memorable impressions, but I've met them a couple times, and I definitely see a little glint of recognition, especially having done these 7 shows between Australia and Portland, and then over the week this last weekend.
I could imagine that American accents at the Australia shows stand out, or it'll stick out.
They were so far away that it's not like they really knew I was American per se.
Yeah, you didn't connect with any of the band members while you were in Australia. Okay.
No, they were. I saw Kebby and Elizabeth wandering around. I stayed at the same property that the bands stayed at in Australia. And I kind of saw them wandering around the resort, and I saw Taj Mahal was also on the lineup for that festival. And I saw Taj's daughters. I chatted with them a little bit. He was on the same flight going over and coming back that I was on. So I kind of chatted with him and his band a little bit going over, and but I try to give them their privacy when they're on their time off, and they're trying to harness their energy and battle their jet lag so that they can go out and do their job, even though it's a great job and we all love it and it's good work. Like they're there, they're working. So I want to be respectful of that. But I did run into Elizabeth and Alicia in Melbourne at the Byron Bay Festival. They were out, wandering around, checking out the vendors and looking at jewelry and stuff. And they just couldn't have been more sweet and kind and polite and, happy to have the feedback and gracious.
I don't know if it's just podcast guests, but most of the fans seem the way you are and just are very polite and conscientious, if that's the right word, of the band and their time and respectful. And I always kind of just frame it this way. We all want to we don't want to intrude or impose, but we want to get closer to the band. And I'm not even sure in what terms those even means. It's closer to the band and closer to the music, you know, but at the same time have that balance. And that's cool. And I think the band appreciates that. And I think they recognize and appreciate that it does seem like it's a special relationship, but us, the fans, I think we're a special fan base of music fans. It's because we found this band and they're the best. So like, if they're the best band, should we not be the best fans? I'm thinking this through right now.
I kind of, I'm always like, I kind of feel like a teenage kid, like kicking the dirt. Like, well, what do I have to offer to the conversation? They're fucking Derek and Susan. They're both like prodigy geniuses in music. And like, what could I possibly bring to the conversation that's going to be relevant or insightful or valuable? But
there's nothing other than just saying, I thank you for the music. I appreciate it. And thank you for saying hello. And that's pretty much it, I guess.
I was enough to meet Derek and chat with him a little bit back in 2001 at that Allman Brothers show. And I didn't really know all of his history yet. And like, we took a picture together and I looked at him and I just said like, oh, you're so young. Like, how old are you? And he's like, oh, 19 or 20 or whatever he was. And I said, does it make you nervous, like playing with all these old guys? And he was like, no. No.
No, that's funny, but in some ways maybe that's refreshing rather than
Yeah.
having the 1,000th guitar player that we come up to him and want to talk guitar with him. Maybe to
Yeah.
have the newer something about the newer fans is sort of can be refreshing also, and like maybe kids also somewhat like when kids discover the band too. I'm sure that's fun.
No, I'm not intimidated at all. Like not nervous at all, which is apparent now.
Yeah, that dude has had the same zen stoic demeanor for his entire life. Just like even the photos look similar. Like,
like
where'd it go?
The Wikipedia stuff, I didn't realize like he basically picked up a guitar and started playing prolifically within 2 years, so
yeah, slide guitar. I think he talked about like just sitting with his dad, and his dad would have like a glass of whiskey by the fire, and little Derek would have his slide, and if you have, it was easier, I think, to play slide when you're younger and smaller hands and all that. But this is from, I think, Soundcheck. It must be from Soundcheck night one.
It was a chilly night.
Susan commented that it wasn't. It looked.
Commented, and the first night she was wearing a dress. The second night, I loved it. She came out in a little more rock and roll, like she had pants and boots, because it was chilly. It was chilly. They were all bundled up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they look great, and no matter the weather, they always look great on stage, and I'm sure the adrenaline's flowing, and that must keep you a little bit warmer. You're not playing a sport, so you're not like moving in that way. But I imagine
all the lights go in, which have got to be hot, and just jumping around, moving around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got some pictures. Some of these are from the show, but that must be Soundcheck also in the daylight.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. They got T-shirts on.
So cool. They were going at it last night. Horn set, a lot of horns stuff.
Yes, I know. It's funny. I was listening to your podcast with the two guys from Australia, recapping the Sydney shows, and you guys were talking about Elizabeth and Derek, trading solos. And last night when Derek was over there, just standing right below her, I just had this thought. I was like, I wonder how loud that is, like right in his face. Like
I've had those thoughts too.
She is just blowing it right in his face, and he's just, their interaction is great.
Yeah, the fun overrides any sort of the loudness. They're so in the moment, I guess.
She's so incredible. Her energy is just so infectious, and you can tell that she's just genuinely enjoying every moment and just dancing around and bopping, and it's great.
You could hear them because we both probably listen to the music so much, like not stealing licks from each other, but sort of even from night to night, from show to show, and some of the styles like overlapping. They each have their own individual style, but there's overlapping, and they take from each other. Just how like Elizabeth might start a solo with a really long, slow note. I don't know the Italian musical term for it, but like you hear Derek do a lot of the similar things on slide, and they both play slide instruments.
Yeah, definitely a lot of call and response, and a lot of throw down, and then the other one goes, oh yeah, and then they're like throwing down, and then like it's like, okay, I'm gonna match you, and then I'm gonna add another 6 notes. Let's see if you can follow me.
Fans are always arguing about standing and sitting at shows, and you even mentioned that and wanting to dance and all that. Last night I was standing the whole time just in my apartment watching it. I didn't sit for the whole show.
There's the benefit of the couch tour, is you don't have to sit on the couch.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, I had bought a ticket second row because I've become, especially with this band, like really, I get FOMO if I'm not down close. There's so much going on. There's so much looks and glances and nonverbal communication between the band members. There's just so much dynamic between them. And of course, we all want to get up close and see the blur that is Derek's hands and Susan's hands. And so I splurged. I bought a second row ticket, and then I got there, and I could kind of see that the people around there, they kind of seemed like they were going to be sitters, and it made me a little nervous because I have a friend who was at the Seattle show. He's a dancer. He's a stander. someone actually like pushed him and punched him to sit down.
I heard Seattle was the crowd was a mixed bag at best.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah, I guess the guy was escorted out, but I guess he was a big guy, and yeah, there was a lot of tumultuous energy going on between the fans in Seattle, from what I heard.
Why? Is there a particular? It just happens to just one of those nights.
The sitting and standing thing, it's just this.
It's not a Seattle thing. It's just that happened to flare up that topic.
Yeah.
So dumb that it has to get to that point. That's so ridiculous that like that it whatever you like to do at shows, but like the fact that adults can't resolve the issue without physical violence.
Well, everybody has their expectation of what their night's going to look like, and as you guys discussed on one of your podcasts, like it's not an inexpensive ticket. It's a big organization. I understand everyone needs to get paid. I really respect like how well they treat all of their people on their team, and that costs a dime or two. So but everybody puts down money to go see this show, and everybody has an expectation of what their night's going to be like. And let's face it, the fan base generally is an older demographic, so a lot of people maybe don't have the physical strength to like stand all night, or they don't want to. I saw a lot of people leaving the show with canes and walkers. There was a lot of people in wheelchairs at the show last night. There was a lot of older people who were just slowly moving out of the show. So, we get a diverse group of people, and so it definitely brings it up, because some people. I almost was thinking last night, like they almost need to like sell by section. This is the sitters section. This is the standers section. Like you have two pits. One is for sitting. One's for standing. Same prices.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think someone else, I think it was Zach Transport, said to put on the ticket seat you guarantee what was it? What did he say? You guarantee admission, but not view or something.
Not a view.
Some kind of language where it like warns you that could be a thing. Yeah. I mean, there's also like the thought to like if you're gonna sit further back, and obviously there's special needs seating and all that too for people who really need it. I think that I think most people would who sit, like I think a high percent of them could stand, and they're crybabies, like 75-80%. I think 20% of the people who prefer to sit probably actually really need to, but the other 75-80% are a bunch of crybabies and should realize they're going to a rock and roll show.
Yeah. My friend says if you're not dancing, you're dying.
Yeah, it's not. And if
you're not dancing, you're dying. I was like, okay, yeah, for sure.
I like people who are dramatic and say dramatic things like big bold things like
he's
that.
New Yorker. What do you expect?
As am I. There you go.
Yeah. So yeah.
I figure I'll pull this up. And
is that from night one?
This is both nights.
Yeah.
So you can jump around or whatever, and we don't have to go song by song, but I'll jump in too, I'm sure, because I listened and saw the whole show too, both of them.
Yeah, I mean, it ain't fair. Alicia's just killing it on that. She's just bringing the heat. Dreams, that was great. It was really great to hear that. It was funny. There was a lady on Facebook that was like, I could have done with less musical interlude and more Susan. That's why I bought my ticket. And I just laughed.
Did she not know what band she was singing?
I just laughed, and my comment was the musical interlude are songs. Dreams, Pass Go On. You've got the bolero, like those are songs. It's not just noodling between. Yeah.
No, I get that people come to TTB or they have different musical tastes, and some people might be more into vocalists or female vocalists. Yeah. And then there's obviously the guitar heads and all that, but like you're getting so much of everything, and I guess some people just don't know what they're getting into or something like that. They don't realize.
Yeah. For some, this band definitely has a lot of women, And if you've been to a lot of other bands like Government Mule, even the Brothers, like, it's a lot of men, it's a dude fest. And the, TTB definitely brings a lot of women because it has some great female performers and some great female energy. And it is such a diverse group of performers. And, Susan brings that fan base that she had before, which was predominantly women, I think. She did that Lilith Tour Fest at one point, and, her fan base is certainly more women. And so, like, you get some women who come who may not understand the dynamic of this new incarnation.
Yeah, Mom. No, I'm just kidding.
Right? And you're like, okay, like you said, did you not know where you were going?
Yeah, no, this is just a stellar set list. I mean, just so many things jump out at me, from Kebby on the flute and seeing that and how special that is, and him wearing, not even wear, does he usually, I mean, he's wearing sunglasses 99% of the time, and he actually wasn't for a handful of songs last night, I think. So that was cool.
So is Kebby just, so like, I of course remember Kofi playing the flute, and I was just commenting like what a loss it is with, well, for so many reasons. Obviously, we all loved Kofi and miss Kofi, and he's such an incredible talent and spirit. But I was commenting specifically in regards to like the amount of flute that he used to bring into the songs and the performances, and how I just really was missing that. And then it seems like now Kebby is stepping up more and doing more flute. So I wasn't sure if he had always played flute and has just been kind of like getting back into it. Like, I don't remember him.
I think I forgot to ask him that when I interviewed him for episode number 100. I should have asked him that. But no, it is super awesome that he is getting back into flute.
Yes.
And I was talking to, I forget who I was talking to about this. Maybe it was on the podcast. But like, I think like in some ways, like maybe enough time has passed since Kofi's passing, where it's like it's more of a tribute to him as opposed to like we're trying to replace him with the flute. Like, because we miss it and we want it, so it's and it's more special. And I would be guessing that Kebby's probably been practicing too in the last X amount of years since Kofi's unfortunate passing.
Yes, he probably is.
I got that right.
He probably had his primary instrument and then circled back and picked this up and has been working on it. Hopefully, it's
for some
nice
reason. Yeah, no, it's a super special moment, and to see that, with all the close-ups and whatnot, it makes it great. I predicted the Statesboro to open night 2, and I have the texts to prove it. And I also, what was the other? I predicted. What's that?
What were you basing that on?
It was like the first upbeat song I thought of, because I figure Saturday night, second night, they're gonna do something upbeat to start the show, and they've been using Statesboro to start shows. And I also predicted the pair of Stones covers, the Deuces Wild. You got the Silver and the Monkey Man.
Yes.
We could talk about Monkey Man and what happened with we missed the first few. We'll never you guys didn't hear Mike's first few notes live, or did you?
No.
Why? No, because the audio was, the volume was messed up or something. It was a technical thing. Did you hear him sing, Mike? Do you remember?
Yes, but I don't remember
missing him. Oh, interesting. Maybe it was. I don't
remember hearing a gap or hearing a missed note or a missed lyric. I think I was just so like in the moment, like it was just such a surprise, cool song that I was just like, fuck yeah, this is great.
Yeah, definitely on the stream though. I'm a flea but peanut monkey. All my friends are junkies. That's not really true. We definitely missed a few of those, but. Yeah, I did not expect, like, Monkey Man would not have been a Rolling Stones song that I could have predicted that this band would do. Debut. I'm pretty sure. You got the Silver. They've done a handful of times over the years, and of course Susan recorded that.
Yes.
David Flam in the chat here agrees. Very sad about the missed vocals on a debut. I'm sure the band is kicking themselves over that. And my friend Mike was watching the show. He was like upset about it too. And I just like, part of it, I mean, yeah, I would love to have heard it, but I don't know. It makes it more charming, and it shows you that they're humans.
Turned on or something? The mic wasn't turned on.
I guess some kind of technical thing.
Okay.
Interesting that maybe they can repost that with the thing if they have it somewhere. Interesting. I'm not sure. I'm sure people are doing research and digging into that. But yeah,
I was surprised that the Rolling Stones were like what they chose. But I guess given that they recently are on tour and stuff, it's bringing it up for them. Maybe
he likes to do. I mean, Mike loves to do Stone songs, it seems like, but I think even that Mick falsetto, it's pretty ambitious. It's a pretty ambitious song, and not just the vocals, some of the rhythm guitars and some of the guitar stuff. I think maybe I hope it's not the last time they play this. I hope they play it more on the tour, but I think they're gonna definitely polish it more from the musical and the technical side.
Yes.
I think it's gonna get better.
Yeah. So I've been pushing for them to cover "Go Down Gambling" by Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I keep throwing that out there and hoping they're going to pick that up. It's such a perfect song for them. Like, it has horns and it's gritty and it's got backups and guitars, and
that's like the number one conversation, like that fans or thing that people would want to be a fly on the wall for or a contributor for is like the cover. What should the band cover, and constructing set lists. Like, that's what every fan wants to be a fly on the wall for more than anything,
And I've never really been that person who's like, you guys should do this song, but that came up for me recently, and I was just loving it. And then they announced the Deuce is Wild, and I was like, oh, like, it's the perfect combination of all things going on. I love.
They're so talented, and they're so good at. Good is an understatement, but so great at making everything their own. When we're listening to music that isn't Tedeschi Trucks Band, it's very easy to think to ourselves, oh, I wonder what this would sound like. They're making us like better music fans in a way. Like, fans are like, we're probably like putting arrangements in our heads. Like, we all think we're little Derek's, like, oh, look at this cover. They should do this because the horns would be perfect, for this song or that song. Like, but the Monkey Man is super outside the box. I think that's Mike's an outside the box kind of guy, a kind of musician.
I was definitely surprised by that.
But very bold choice and dare. I think it's daring personally. I don't think that's an understatement to say that. Like, to
they
do that
did
song.
a good job with it. I had heard rumor at the beginning of the show that the alligator was there and that she was going to do Mr. Charlie. So that was not a surprise, and she did a great job with it. I always love Do I Look Worried? It's just such a great song. Shame. It was like chills. Like, I had full body chills during Shame. I think there's just so much going on in the world right now, and it's such a turbulent time and such a critical time in our world, in our nation. And I feel like she's really embodying her platform to get out and create awareness and shake people's sleeves a little bit. And certainly in a town like Berkeley, where this message is going to be well received, and people were just thrilled. Like, Shame. Totally.
I had goosebumps. Like, I sent my friend, like, I think I've had goosebumps for like the last 6 songs, like straight at some point in the show. Like I said, I was standing for the whole show. They actually didn't play the full, song like they do on the album with the outro. And that's kind of a testament to like the size of their catalog and the amount of covers they've added to it, that they just can't play everything that they play. It's just too much material. So Derek and the band is just kind of being judicious about, just giving us snippets and teases and putting songs within songs and all that. I don't know if you caught the Passaquan tease opening to Midnight in Harlem.
Yeah. So we thought for sure we were going to get Passaquan.
I thought so too. Passaquan and Gilded Splinters were probably kind of surprises we didn't get.
We're going to get a Midnight in Harlem. We're going to get a Shame. And
Bound for Glory.
Like, I was like, for sure we're going to get those. And we heard the instrumental intro, and then we heard the Pasquan Tees, but then it kind of like sounded like more it was going into midnight, and then it was that instrumental stuff, the soft, quiet cymbals and stuff for the midnight. And I said I think they're going to do midnight and go into Pasquan, and then they just totally didn't even do Pasquan. I was stunned. I thought for sure, but they did it last year at the Greek, and it was just a barn burner. It was just incredible. And so maybe they just didn't want to do it twice.
Yep, you're right. They factor. I'm pretty damn sure that they factor in what they played at the venue the previous year and years. And I guess since you got a drink
in Portland,
what's that?
They did it in Portland. It was a great version in Portland. So maybe they're like they want to leave people wanting.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I was almost. I guess Idle Wind and The Dreams. Those are pretty lengthy, powerful, instrumental, heavy songs, and they did those the first 2 nights. And I guess the decision, let's play more songs the second night and make it more of a party. But even with the party, just getting midnight and then the I Can't Make You Love Me encore, that was pretty emotional to watch.
Yep.
I was proud of myself for keeping it together in front of my friend and not, I told him if I gotta go cry, I'm gonna go in the kitchen while you're, in the living room.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
That's what I said. That's what I said. I think when the first time they were early on when they started adding this into the set list, and I started recapping this, those shows.
So they did this same encore in Sydney. I heard you guys talking about the encores in Sydney and Byron, or in Byron, not in Sydney, in Byron. And they came out and they did this encore in Byron also.
I Can't Make You Leave in Trunk Volunteer Slavery.
Right. I can't.
Oh, with the guest, I forget his name, was a local guitar player. It was awesome. I watched that a handful of times.
So they came out in Byron and they did I Can't Make You Love Me. But last night the place was dead quiet except for one guy. Like, of course, blah, blah, blah. Finally, I had to turn around and be like, in the words of Bob Weir, STFU.
Yeah, shush works too. Or could work.
Yeah. And then he realized, oh my God, I'm the only person talking.
It happens. I've been that person. We've all been that person. We've all committed those errors, and those,
But it was incredible. You could hear a pin drop. It was so quiet. Everybody was completely transfixed.
Yeah, I like that also when you get an I Can't Make You Love Me, and even the night before La Di Da, I think an encore debut, you're going to get another song after that. Like, they're not going to close the show, probably not going to close the show with La Di Da, and probably not going to close the show with they're definitely not going to close the show with I Can't Make You Love Me without the rest of the band.
Like I've only seen a single encore once, maybe. Like, I feel like it's almost always a 2 on.
Unless it was just going to be Leaving Trunk Volunteers. So that could be, or, one of the more popular encores. What was new, I think, or at least maybe something that we haven't heard since like probably 2011, 12, 13, maybe, or whatever, is getting Space Captain to not be an encore, to getting Space Captain to close out the set.
Yes.
Like, people probably felt like they got 2 encores.
Yes. But you definitely knew it was going to be like, that was the end of the set. Like when they started doing that, I'm like, okay, the show's almost over. We're not getting a Pasquan. Like this is definitely, we're heading into the final stretch. Yeah. There was no encore in Byron the second night. So I heard you guys talking on the previous podcast about the 2 different nights. And somebody was saying like the second night in Byron, that the word got out and the crowd was bigger. And there may be some validity to that, but on that particular stage that day, it was Taj Mahal, Blind Boys of Alabama, which Susan came out and sat in and did an a cappella with the Blind Boys. And then it was Tedeschi Trucks and Ben Harper was closing out the stage. So you had a ton of Ben Harper people that were there to get position for Ben Harper. I sat next to 2 gals who were Ben Harper fans, and they were on the rail with me for Ben Harper. they had no idea what they were getting into. They were blown away. They were just like, wow, just that they were just, that was amazing,
Yeah. No,
building.
yeah, I get that, like seeing, Little Feed, and I've seen Ben Harper, but then to see TTB, it's almost like, how can you can't follow it's hard to follow TTB, but it sounded like it was like a perfect storm for TTB to get that, I guess, bigger, more engaged crowd between the Buzz and Susan singing and the other bands there. It was just like this perfect storm. That's cool. Thank you. You set this scene. I feel like I was at those Australia shows too.
Yes. And then that first night in Byron, they played after Snarky Puppy, and they were closing the stage. So it was like, I can't remember who played before Snarky Puppy. It was Snarky Puppy, and then it was TTB, and then that was the end of the night. So of course they did an encore on that. But Snarky Puppy is so high energy, executing on such a technical level. Like I feel like they came out with a purpose, and like TTB came out with a purpose and an energy. Like, okay, the gauntlet has been thrown down. We need to really bring it, for this set, because everybody was just after Snarky Puppy, So they definitely came out with a ferociousness and a purpose that first night in Byron. It was great.
It's funny that you speak in those terms, because I go to a fair amount of comedy shows, and I know that's a big thing in comedy, like how the person does before you kind of influences the energy in the room. Oh, they were awesome. How can I follow that? Now the audience is in a bad mood. They're sour. They didn't like the previous person, or it was just a different genre and vibe. So it's like that kind of can factor into the whole feel and energy. All this stuff is real. Feelings and energy, are real, and objects carry meaning and spiritual qualities.
Yep.
I'm learning things about life. It's taken a few decades.
Yeah. Well, we're all on a slow learning path.
I think so, but the key is to what? Be learning every day and growing, or whatever. Keep on growing.
Keep on growing.
We didn't get that one.
We did not. I expected to get that in Berkeley, and we did not. I was kind of surprised. But I think we got it in Portland. We got one in Portland. Which was great. I feel like of the two nights in Berkeley, my expectation was that Saturday was going to just be, the burn down, I call it the levitating point, where the whole place just starts to, just lift off. You can just feel the energy as Derek starts to like get into his thing, and everybody's just, but I think the first night, Friday night, was the more high energy for me. I think it was the more high energy night. Like it was the better of the two nights, even though there wasn't a Bound for Glory and there wasn't a midnight. Like it was a really good night. The first night, just super high energy.
I'm looking at the set list and I'm thinking, if I had to choose one, which one would I go for? And it's very challenging, but I think I will go with night one as well. I mean, you got Soul Sweet Song, that's just so special. Like and Idle Wind, Kebby on flute, that's so special. And you got the Silver, that was my friggin' ringtone for years. The Keith Richards Stones version, like that. That's one of my all-time favorite Stones songs, and Monkey Man is also one of my favorite Stones. So it was cool to get that too. This like I've talked about in this podcast, like the Stones probably my favorite band before TTB, and to know that TTB loves everything that a lot of things that they do, and they play their songs and are playing their songs. That's special for me.
I think the Allman Brothers have that history with the Rolling Stones. I think they did some festivals and stuff with them back in the day, didn't they? I don't
probably have crossed paths.
Like, I hate to bring up was Altamont? Wasn't that like the Grateful Dead, the Rolling Stones, and the Allman Brothers?
I know it was the Stones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also crazy time. Lots of crazy times. The world keeps spinning, huh? Things keep going. The world
keeps spinning. It does.
That's why we need the music, to keep us sane and to be something that we can kind of rely upon, no matter what state the environment and the world is around us, we can put on a song and just kind of get re-centered, so to speak. I'm speaking in very general new agey terms, but I think people get what I'm saying here. And music really does have healing powers. Like people like who, it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna drive my car to the supermarket and put on some music. It's like people who like have like illnesses, and it really does help ease pain and distract me. Even when I'm just like don't feel well, I'll put on music and it'll kind of make me feel better.
Absolutely. And like just leaning into the whole Berkeley vibe, the Space Captain, which I've seen several times, like she just seemed, Susan was especially empowered, or just really, it was very like revivalist vibe almost, with the we got to love one another, and with all, we got to stop the hate, and people were just responding really enthusiastically to that messaging, because
the world needs that message. It really needs that message, and it's hard to deliver that message, like, without becoming preachy. But when you put it behind music that your heart and soul is put into, it's a way that I think the audience was more willing to receive it. And I don't know, hopefully people leave the show and being a little bit more tolerant of each other, like people, I don't know. I'm not expecting it.
I mean,
but you got to try. Like I said, you got to try. Everyone, we're all trying.
We're all trying. I mean, it's Berkeley, so hopefully we did more to replenish their supply than they've had to do to replenish ours, because some of the places they go to, I'm sure it's not as, people aren't as receptive, or like they've got, maybe there's barriers that their TTB is more of an instrument in helping to break some of those barriers or negative thought processes. And so, hopefully when they come to the West Coast, I always like to think that it's a place where they get replenished a little, they're some love, because they're with like-minded people who are, really appreciative of the messages that they're so subtly and tactfully sharing.
But I think they're also universal messages, and they're messages that you can't, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum or whatever your worldview is. I think the messages are universally appealing to really anyone and everyone of all backgrounds. And that's a testament to them and their songwriting and their openness and their open-mindedness. And it's just, music brings, I was going to say, music brings people together. And
I mean, they should be universal messages. We'd like to hope.
Yeah. No, I mean, Space Captain, how is that not universal?
Exactly.
What a song.
Yeah.
I can't help but think of Elizabeth, like, on that's just so powerful. Just, it's so cool. This band is so cool. And that's kind of how I described it when I was watching Kebby and Isaac, because they haven't done that too many times, have their jams. They've been a handful this year on the tour, but not visible on a live stream in high quality video and audio. And it's just fun. That's like what I think about. They're just having so much fun, and it's fun for the band to watch them at it, go at it. And just like, it's fun to get all the different, I keep talking about this every episode, but you get all the different combinations of band members on stage, and from duos to no horns to no harmony singers to other people getting leads.
They're definitely, I feel, doing more spirit of rotation and really giving everybody an opportunity to really, like you said, like the horns doing their solos. There's always been that drum space format that's sort of come out of the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers years. And, certainly TTB has embraced that drums space format. But, just like allowing each singer an opportunity to come out and do a song, and then giving the guys the drums, the drum time. And it's great. It's awesome.
I've never left a TTB show where I felt like everyone didn't get their shine and there wasn't a balance. Like, I mean, obviously I'm biased, and even hardcore fans who love the band will once in a while say, oh, I wish we got a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that. That's a common, small complaint. But I don't know. I'm just so biased, I guess, that like I've never left a show and been like, oh, I wish we would have got that. Like and especially at this point in my fandom, I'm just gonna let Derek and the band just you guys take me wherever you want to go, you know.
I will say I was at a show in Melbourne in 2016. They were playing at this old historic theater. I love that they support old historic theaters, that's the venues that they like to play. Having bands perform in these places gives them a momentum to refurbish them and keep them alive and going, which is just such a great thing. So they played at this old historic theater in Melbourne, and I kind of was like, what are they doing in Australia? And that's how I first found out about the Byron Bay Festival, which I've been to 3 times now. Such a great festival. But at that show in Melbourne, I think it was after Byron, they came out and Susan had laryngitis and she couldn't sing. And she tried to sing like a couple songs. I think she got a couple songs out and then she had to like stop.
That was this year? This show?
No, that was in 2016.
Oh, okay.
And I remember hearing like an interview or she commented or something like it's never happened to her before or since. But someone said, oh, well, how was that? Susan wasn't singing. I said, we just got an opportunity to hear Derek just melt our face all night. It was like.
They have other singers too.
Yeah. It was just, I think that was before Alicia joined. Mike was in the band at that point.
He's an original member.
Yeah. And Mark. But I don't think Alicia was there.
No,
yet.
she came. I think Alicia was 2016.
Yeah.
And I think her first album was Signs. I don't think she was on Let Me Get By. I don't think she was on Let Me Get By. I think she was on Signs. Was probably the first album she was on. Yeah. If I have that correct. But yes. But back to something you said 50 minutes ago, like talking about the female. We were talking about the female influence in TTB. Like it really makes a difference to have the female and to have Alicia's forget her amazing leads on It Ain't Fair and all the leads she does, but the harmony, what she adds to the harmony vocals gives it a totally different quality than it did with just Mike and Mark. Nothing against them, but to add a third person, to add that female voice to it, it really gives it more of like a unifying sound, and it reminds me of like sort of the Mad Dogs and a lot of some of the soul bands from the 60s and 70s and all that. And it's something about bringing that male voice, the male voices and the female voices together. It's like uplifting. It's unifying. I think did I use that word before? It just makes it's more powerful. It feels like humanity is more represented really through the music when you hear the females and the male voices coming together. Mike, Mark, and Alicia. It's like I definitely appreciate that because you can hear the difference if you go back and listen to live stuff from 2012. Or whatever, 2014 before Alicia joined the band. Like,
well, they had that other horn player who also sang, and he would get those really high notes.
Saunders Sermons, is that who did the right? Or no?
I was looking at it last night because I was trying to remember that I knew there was a change up in the horns at some point a few years ago. I can't remember the guy's name right now. But he would hit some of those higher notes. But I love when Alicia's out and she's in the front, she's doing a song and Susan's doing harmonies with her. And you can see in Susan's face just the like sincerity and her admiration and their like mutual support of each other. And it's really refreshing to feel like they don't have those egos that you hear about in other bands. They just seem to genuinely, like you have said, like be in awe of each other's talent and really have a lot of respect for each other. And they seem to enthusiastically enjoy each other's performances. And I love when Alicia comes off and she and Mark like do their little, they do their little hand things and they shake their tambourines together and they're just like, yep, good job. You got it, girl.
They're having as much fun, if not more fun, than like we are, and that's refreshing to see. Because like there is I guess part of me, no pun intended, like that when you watch another show, I see another show, maybe they're going to be sick of playing Bound for Glory. Maybe they're going to be sick of each other, and like, you know, they're going to take each other, not even each other, but each other's musical talents for granted. Whatever, another Derek Trucks solo. But every, you know, Derek Trucks solo is just as magical and face melting for the other members of the band as it is for like us watching live or listening or being there. What's that?
We certainly hope so.
Yeah, no, it is. You can see those, especially when you're up front, like you're saying, seeing those reactions. What else should we cover? I know I've taken up a lot of your time already and you're on little sleep.
Like you, I love this band. I love talking about it. It's so refreshing to have people that are like so equally engaged and enthusiastic about it. And
yeah, we're all nuts.
You know, I'm a fucking nerd for these guys for sure. And you know, like during the encore of I Can't Make You Love Me, like I could see Kebby off on the side, like watching. I love that. You know, just back to that mutual admiration, mutual respect club. You know, he was over there just checking it out, watching it.
That's one of the big things I got out of even both like my conversation with Gabe and with Kebby. I was very lucky to have those conversations. But I remember Kebby talking about like how much he's a fan of Tedeschi Trucks Band and how fun it is to play Tedeschi Trucks Band music. He's like, oh, it's better than playing Tedeschi Trucks Band music and doing this and that. He talked about it as if it was like not a job. And I guess this keeps coming up, and I keep bringing up the quote from BB King, like talking about they don't pay me to do the shows, they pay you to do all the travel and everything that comes along with the shows. So the music really is, I guess, the most fun part, you know,
best part of the night.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, you know, just having played a little bit of music here and there, like it's when you're in that moment, it's, you know, I'm a big skier. And so I know for me, like everything just stands still. Like when I'm in that moment and I'm doing that thing that I love, everything else falls away, you know?
Yeah.
All the hassles of getting there or whatever is going on in the world, like I'm just able to be in that moment. And, you know, I hope that that's what they're experiencing too, is just living their best life in that moment.
That's so well said. And I can feel and understand exactly where you're coming from. Just thinking about myself standing over there on the other side of the room, watching the show and reacting to Kebby's Fluid or Alicia on It Ain't Fair, or Derek playing a virtuoso slide guitar part, or Susan getting me emotional on. I could just, you know, we could just go on and on. But yeah, those moments, and it's like the music is just carrying you, I guess is a way to describe it.
I think some of my favorite moments are like watching Susan and Derek like in their guitar offs, you know, where she's playing something and then he's playing something, and it's like, you know, sometimes I feel like she's just like trying to kick his ass, and she is. I think one of my favorite interviews I heard Derek saying like, she can play shit that I can't play, which in my mind, you think, is there anything Derek can't play? Is there anything is not possible for him? But, you know, he said in this interview one time, like, she does stuff that I can't do.
I think her mind and his mind, they just think in a certain way and are drawn to certain types of phrasing and styles, where their brains just don't really necessarily think in that way. You can't ever like sing a song exactly the way another singer sings it. You can't play a guitar part exactly the way another player plays it. It's always kind of like inspired by it.
We've all seen Derek, you know, give that look where he's like, okay, all right, you know, where he's just like, yeah, girl, get it. You know, she's just bringing the heat, and he's just like, yeah, cool. You know, just watching her with that moment of awe and that all of us have for both of them. And it's refreshing to see. It's really cool.
Yeah, there's nothing that consistently brings out expressions and reactions in Derek specifically than Susan's guitar playing at a show. You'll see him react to other members of the band, and he does especially react when when there's guests on the stage. I think he likes that, and you see him getting into that, and that's fun. But in terms of like TTB members, inspiring him and yielding facial reactions and even emotions and excitement and smiles and all that stuff. I think that's all Susan. And I think maybe part of that is also because she's his wife. His wife. Maybe that's part of it too. And I wonder if that, I mean, this is another good question for them potentially, but like, I think her guitar playing, maybe this is a stretch, but in some ways, like the way they surprise each other musically, like maybe like keeps the marriage fresh a little bit and keeps the relationship fresh, because you're getting something new from your partner every single day, a new like contribution, a new sound, a new song, a new whatever. Like that's part of the newness. They're sharing their musical journey together. It's not just like we have the same job and we're in a band. It's like the emotional growth is tied into the music too.
The constant reminder as to who that person is at their core and why you fell in love with them and what your commonality is, and that they're constantly inspiring you and pushing you to be a better you. And, I'm sure that hopefully they do that for each other.
Yeah, and they're getting that every night, like on the stage. The music inspires us on our personal lives, so I'm sure it inspires them in their personal lives in some ways, for sure.
I'd like to think that we're helping them fulfill their dreams.
Yeah, no, I think that's how bands can play. I mean, the TTB is the exception in a lot of ways because their catalog is so huge. But that's how I think bands can play some of the same set lists every night, because you're getting that energy from the audience. Like they remind you how excited they are to see your performance of whatever. They played Midnight in Harlem a billion times, but every fan who's there is, feel, even the hardcore fans been to million shows, feel like, oh, this is such a moment. It feels like it's the first time, or as special as the first time, more special in some ways because of the contact of loving the band over the years. So they can never mail it in.
I had a friend who went only Friday. She was so disappointed that they didn't play Midnight. She was contemplating coming back Saturday because that is one of their key foundational songs that draw people in, especially women. Like, I feel like women just really love that song. They love Susan's version of Mike's song. And, like they come to see that song. And like my friend was like, do I have to come back tomorrow to see it? And I'm like, you might have. Yeah, I guess so. She didn't. But I forget what I was going to say.
Yeah, but yeah, you are 100% on the money. Midnight in Harlem is not just like their most popular song and whatever their signature song. It's a popular conversion song and story that I've been told on this podcast by many people. Oh, I heard Midnight in Harlem. It's in the intro. People sing Midnight in Harlem. I think especially on that Clapton Crossroads videos and the DVDs when they. I don't even know if that was I don't think it was TTB. It was Mike, and maybe it was TTB. I forget, but no, that was before, like
Trucks Band.
What's that?
Was it the Derek Trucks Band with Mike?
Soul Stew. Yeah, it was with Mike and Susan. Soul Stew, maybe, or just I think Mark was there too. But yeah, I should go back and look at those. But there was a handful of songs, and those were big for the band. I know, like getting some attention.
I saw or I overheard women as we were walking out saying, like, how fabulous they thought it was to have Susan, they expected her to be a great singer, and they knew Derek was a great guitarist, but to see her have the chops, women like consciously just notice that and discuss it, and like it gives them, good energy. Like women, it's really great woman building energy to go see a Tedeschi Trucks Band and see Susan just fucking throw down on the guitar like she does, and then have all of the Alicia and Elizabeth, and like I think men bring their dates and then women end up loving it too.
Yeah, no, there's been some stories like that too, where people meeting at shows and things like that.
Yeah.
I want to get a couple on who met one of those couples or something like that.
I'm an old school, like I go to most shows alone. I'm an old school music fan. Like the one thing that I love about the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers, and is that it's given me that foundational education that has had me going into like Taj Mahal or like T-Bone Walker or Blind, the just all the old Delta blues, like just really digging deep, doing the research. Where did that song come from? Who sang it first? Who did the other version of it? It's this is like an onion. Like this is just the top layer, and then you just keep going deeper and finding out more. And like I wish we heard more of the Akbar Khan stuff. Like I wish
someone mentioned that, or maybe you posted someone posted something that because I know Alam Khan lives in the area or is in the area. We were hoping to get these walls like you did at the Fox a few years ago.
That was me that posted that. I love that sound. I've traveled to India and I've seen musicians and bands there, and I know Derek went to the Institute in San Rafael, and I love that. It's such a deeply spiritual to the core sound, and it just really invokes such deep feelings. Like I wish that they would tap into that a little more sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's super special. I can't even explain why. I'm gonna ask a ChatGPT later on and dive into like, I feel it too, and I'm not Indian. I don't play Indian classical music, but it's such a universally spiritually deep music. And perhaps, overtly, objectively more spiritually deep than a lot of other music. Like, I mean, we know that. I don't know what it is about that music, and then the way something there is, I'm sure, technical, physiological, scientific reason why human beings are touched spiritually by that type of music.
The tones resonate. There's that sound therapy thing with the bowls, and just we all know like certain tones just resonate with our energy and create higher vibrations.
Knowledge is being suppressed. That's a different conversation. We'll get into that some other time. On that note, anything else that we should discuss or cover or
thank you so much for having me, and love to come back anytime. There's, like you said, we've just touched the surface. There's always so much more.
I know we could me and all the other nerds and TTB nerds out there can go on and on all day for sure.
If you ever want to do a historical revisit, I've seen some of their great shows. I was at the Clapton Crossroads show in Dallas where TTB played. I saw them in Osaka, Japan.
Wow.
In 2016.
So cool.
Yeah. The Japanese don't like to stand. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and they clap at different times than Americans clap.
Yes.
It's a trip. It's interesting though. Europe is a vibe too, a different vibe. I'm sure that's fun for the band too to see all the different reactions of people. New York fans are the best fans. I'll tell you.
I saw Primus in Paris, and everybody sat. How do you sit for Primus?
I don't know. I'm not going to say anything anti-French, anti-France. I'll be nice.
Or anti-Primus.
I'll be nice. We're trying to learn to live to be together. Learning to live together.
Exactly. And on that note.
All right. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Yes.
You got it. Let's talk more soon.
We will. Okay.
Later.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, that was super fun. What was that? Episode number 155 with Paige Elder helping me recap TTB and Berkeley for the 2 shows this past weekend. Hope everyone's doing okay out there. At Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. Please subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. Please subscribe on YouTube. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Adam Choit. AdamChoit.com for my personal stuff. TedeschiTrucksPodcast.com for everything related to the show. TedeschiTrucksBand.com. That's the band's official website. Definitely check that out. Buy tickets to future shows. They got a bunch of dates this year for the Deuces Wild Tour, of course. Join the Swamp Family Club, the app. If you were on it, I already got my dues worth just from watching that show last night. So I can only imagine, it's going to be what we're going to get for the rest of the years. So much cool access and cool stuff, and fun to be on the boards and get all the updates and connect with fans on there. Thank you to the band and fans and podcast supporters and the crew. The band is going to Reno and then Santa Barbara this week. I am not going to either of those shows, but I will be there next weekend for LA, San Diego, and then LA. So that's going to be super fun. I'm going to probably plan to recap those shows next Monday. And then maybe Thursday, I'll sneak in a Santa Barbara, Reno recap. So definitely hit me up if you're going to Reno or Santa Barbara, because I would like to recap those. I like to go to them too, but we can't go to them all. But I can try to recap them all. That I can try to do. But I think that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you in the chat, David Flam, Wasabi Ginger, everyone else out there. I think that's pretty much all I got. And let's talk soon. Peace.